Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 100 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivots. Yes, episode 100. It's been a long journey. It's been a up and down journey, but I'm glad to be doing 100 episodes and looking forward to doing 100 more. So this week's episode is going to cover two NXT events. The first, the show that aired on February 8th on the WWE Network, and the second is going to be my experience when I went to NXT Asbury Park this past Friday. So, as for the NXT weekly show, we have the glorious celebration of Bobby Roode that was pimped out, and Tom Phillips, Percy Watson, and Nigel McGuinness welcomed us on commentary. The first match was the Bollywood Boys against Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf of Sanity. The Bollywood Boys tried their best to take down Killian Dane, but nothing really worked. They tried double-teaming him, but Dane clotheslined them both. He then powerbombed Harv onto Gurv, and then pretty much senton splashed onto both of them. He then hit Harv with an electric chair into a Michinoku driver to get the win. Yeah, it was all Killian Dane. Alexander Wolf didn't even get into the ring. And I think this big man is going to give Sanity that edge, that fear factor, to make them a viable heel faction in NXT. That's something that they didn't have before he joined. So I'm looking forward to it. Call me crazy, but I'm kind of looking forward to a Sanity versus Authors of Pain match, just to see the four big men go at it. As wicked as that sounds, because Sanity is still a little green, and Authors of Pain are getting better, but they need a veteran team to work with. So that match may not be the best, but I think it could be entertaining just to see four big men go at it. After the match, though, Eric Young had a mic. Nikki Crush just kept screaming for Asuka. Young said that everyone finds their place, or they will put you in your place. He then said he humbled Ty Dillinger, and Ty belongs with them. Unfortunately, this feud isn't over yet. I think it's going to last a couple more weeks. I don't think it's going to stretch out to take over Orlando. Hopefully not. But it's going to be something you'll see on the next upcoming tapings. Second match, Liv Morgan versus Billie Kay. Liv rolled Kay around in the ring in that weird pinning predicament, and they got a couple 1 counts. Kay then hung her over the top rope and landed a falling boot to the face. She kept pressure on with a couple near falls. Liv went to throw Kay off the ropes, but Peyton Royce got involved and held her arm. Liv then shoved Peyton off the apron and rolled up Kay to get the win. Pretty boring women's match. Really nothing to take from it. I don't know what the win for Liv Morgan means, but it's more about healing up Billie Kay and Peyton Royce and something backfiring on them than actual Liv's win. Ty Dillinger was backstage commenting on Eric Young's words from earlier. He dismissed Sanity and wanted to talk about the Royal Rumble, but Sanity attacked him from behind. They brought him out to the announce desk and to ringside. He tried fighting back, but the numbers game caught up. Then No Way Jose and Roderick Strong ran down to make the save. They sent off Sanity. They sent Killian Dane over the top rope, and Sanity went back up the ramp. It's nice to see the babyfaces backing each other up and supporting each other. The downside is that there's nothing better for Roddy to do, unfortunately. I wish he was in the title picture or in a meaningful feud, but I guess this will do for now. William Regal announced that next week Tyler Bate will defend his UK Championship against Trent Seven. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay barged in. They looked so orange. I don't know if it's the camera or their own doing, but they looked like they could have been on an episode of Jersey Shore or in the White House, whichever. They demanded a match against Liv Morgan. Regal made the match Billie Kay and Peyton Royce against Liv and a partner of her choosing, and they laughed on their way out because Liv doesn't have any friends. I'm thinking it's going to either be Aaliyah or Daria Baronato. Ember Moon, I would say, but she's kind of occupied with Asuka as they're building towards that. Those are the only two options, unless they're bringing someone else in, but I don't see anyone else that could fill in that spot. Tom Phillips talked about Nakamura and gave an update that he will not require surgery for his knee, which is very good news. They definitely couldn't have done without him. The babyface side is very thin on the NXT roster, so without him, things could have been a little drastic. Third match, Tucker Knight and Otis Dosovich as Heavy Machinery versus The Revival. Dash tried taking down Knight, but it didn't work. He had him in a bear hug. Knight did, and then he literally just tossed him over to Otis, who had him in his own bear hug. Dawson was able to take down Dosovich, and the Revival wore him down in their corner. Tucker got the hot tag, and he took out both members of the Revival. He landed a splash on Dash in the corner, and then a hit toss. He then took down Dawson with a Luthez. Dash pulled Otis off the apron as he was going for the tag, which then allowed Scott Dawson to hit the DDT off the ropes on Tucker Knight to get the win. As for the match, it was whatever. I was kind of hoping for a squash or just a more competitive match for Otis and Tucker. They're kind of over, But obviously the Revival needs to get their momentum back as they keep the tag team division strong. Because if they would have lost, Authors of Pain would just have DIY and they're on their way out. So it's a very thin tag team division. The Revival cut a promo after the match on both DIY and the Authors of Pain. They said they carried the tag team division around the world, not just in NXT. And he said that the Authors of Pain will be a footnote to the Revival come takeover. Authors of Pain made their entrance. Revival left the ring and walked up the ramp. As Authors of Pain were leaving, the Revival attacked them from behind and then ran away right after. Well done. I liked it a lot. And the Revival still need to be those smart heels. I don't know who's going to be cheered in this situation. I think the Revival, because the fans love their theme song. And I don't think they're big fans of Authors of Pain. But I don't think it's going to be a face turn for the Revival, if that makes sense. I think they're just going to get more of the cheers. It's just going to be interesting to see how this plays off. The Revival and I think DIY are both on their way out shortly, heading up to the main roster. But I guess you got to give the Revival, I think they never had their rematch, unless they do a 3-way team match at Orlando. That could be interesting as well. I would like to see how that would work. We never had one of those in NXT, so maybe a 3-team match. As of right now, it's the Revival going after Authors of Pain. We had a couple vignettes throughout the show, one on Tyler Bate, the other on Trent Seven, just to build up for their match for next week. It was then time for Bobby Roode. He said he isn't the type to say, "I told you so." He laughed and said he totally is that type of guy. He showed off this title and then screamed, "I told you so." He did give some praise to Nakamura for his run listing the people that he defeated, but he made sure to note that he never defeated Bobby Roode. Roode said he looks, walks, talks like a champion, and he said he is the champion, and concluded by saying this NXT will simply be glorious. Short, simple, to the point. They kind of made him look like a jobber by having this at the end, or at the middle of the show, and not at the end. You would think you would want to promote your champion to be the last thing they see, not some throwaway segment in the middle of the show. No balloons, no confetti, no over-the-top stuff that I would expect from Bobby Roode. His mic work was good, but I think it's kind of stuff that we've heard before. Fourth match was a 6-man tag that was made from the attack earlier. Sanity versus Ty Dillinger, No Way Jose, and Roderick Strong. As Sanity made their way to the ring, the faces attacked them as they were walking down the ramp. They held the ring as Sanity regrouped on the outside as they went to the first commercial break. Dillinger was fired up. He went after both Eric Young and Alexander Wolf. There was some back and forth between the two teams, really no one gaining major momentum. Dillinger was distracted by Young, which allowed Wolf to land a big boot. Killian Dane then took control. Strong got the hot tag and he took out all 3 members of Sanity. He caught Wolf with a huge backbreaker and a running knee onto Eric Young. Jose landed a diving splash onto Wolf onto the outside as the ref was distracted by Killian Dane. This allowed Ty to hit Young with the tiebreaker. Nikki then jumped on Ty in a senton position and then launched him over the top rope. It kind of made Dillinger look like a jobber there, getting taken out by a girl. No offense to women or anything like that, but you would think that Ty Dillinger would be a little more aware of Nikki Cross on the outside. Strong went after Young, but Dane broke him in half with a huge running cross body, and then Young picked up the win, recovering from that. As I said for the opening match, this was pretty much Killian Dane and the Sanity show. They're trying to put him over as huge heels, and they kind of did in this match, just the numbers game caught up to the 3 baby faces. They had a couple of moments on offense, but Sanity cut them off at every chance they could. The match breakdown at the end definitely favored Sanity. It got out of control, something that they're familiar with, and stood on top over the 3 baby faces. Overall, I give the show a C-. Really nothing eventful happened. I think the best thing was the Revival's mic work after their tag match and the attack on Authors of Pain. As for next week, we have Tyler Bate versus Trent Seven for the UK Championship. Should be a good match. I saw part of it in the UK tournament, so I'm looking forward to see them and how Full Sail reacts to them next week. Alright, it's now time for my recap of NXT Asbury Park. I went to the show last year as well, so I'm going to probably make some comparisons to the 2 shows. Right off the bat, this show felt like just a larger indie show. If you take away the WWE name and some of the bigger stars, the way that the wrestlers were going about their match, pandering to the crowd, it felt like just a larger indie show. And there were actually plenty of seats available in the upper bleachers in the convention hall. So if you wanted to go to the show, if you were in the area, there were definitely tickets to be had. First match, Steve Cutler versus Aleister Black. Cutler was introduced as being from New Jersey. He then changed his location to Florida, which got him heel heat. He then made a sandy joke about thinking that Asbury took care of us, something like that. It was a decent opening match. Cutler was on offense for most of it, but Alistair made his comeback with a nice spin kick to get the win. Second match, Daria Baronato versus Ember Moon. A lot of back and forth early. Ember sold a lot for Daria, who was the home state girl, but then she won with the Eclipse. Really good match. I liked it a lot. A couple near falls for Daria. The crowd was behind her a lot, but Ember Moon obviously on the rise, the next contender for the women's championship, so they needed her to get the win. Eric Young versus Oney Lorcan. The crowd wanted Tye Dillinger when they saw that Eric Young was coming out, but Oney Lorcan got a good pop. Crowd started to turn against him, though, as he landed 9 consecutive hip attacks in the corner. There were some crowds saying, some members in the crowd just wanting this match to be over. It wasn't the most entertaining match, in the beginning at least. It built up towards the end. He landed a super half-and-half suplex, but Eric Young pulled him from the apron and hit the wheelbarrow neckbreaker to get the win. Fourth match, tag team titles were on the line as the Authors of Pain defended them against DIY. There was no Paul Ellering. I guess he's too good for house shows. DIY landed a string of moves, which ended up taking out Authors of Pain on the outside. Crowd got to their feet for this one. They popped. They finally felt alive. DIY went for their finish in the middle of the ring, but Akam pulled Gargano out. They hit Ciampa with the final chapter. I like this tag match a lot. For a house show, granted, it wasn't anything that we've seen on NXT before. But for a house show, putting the tag titles on the line, thinking that they could get a title change, gets the crowd interested in the match. I wish DIY were on offense a little longer. They sold a lot during this match, but it's only nitpicking. I liked it a lot. Fifth match, Patrick Clark versus Tye Dillinger. Clark had a Tom Brady jersey on. He was talking about the number 12, which obviously began a lot of 10 chants. And who would have thought that a guy calling himself the perfect 10 would be a babyface? Only in wrestling. Clark was playing the chicken shit heel for the early part of the match, just running out of the ring every chance he got. Tye finally connected with the tiebreaker. I say finally because this match went on way too long. Too many rest holds, too many just dead spots in the match. I think it should have been a quick squash match. Maybe Clark gets some offense in, but Tye just busts out the tiebreaker within 5 minutes. This match probably went maybe 8 or 10, much longer than it needed to. That led into the intermission. Funny part about that, though, on the screen, they were showing, who am I? Silhouettes of wrestlers, like Samoa Joe, Bayley. The last one they got to was Roman Reigns, and the crowd just booed as soon as they saw his picture. It's comical. Back from intermission, we had Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf versus Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, I believe his name was. Dane had a hard time getting over the top rope at one point. They pulled the ropes down. He had to, launch himself over. Sanity won with a dropkick power slam combination. Another match that went on way too long. Angelo Dawkins and Ford didn't need to get this much time with Sanity. They didn't need to be as competitive as they were. It should have been another Sanity squash match. But, again, it's a house show. It went about 3 hours. They needed to fill some time. Seventh match of the card was the Women's Championship match, Asuka taking on Mandy Rose. Rose attempted a couple submissions early. She got a nice pop for a nice delayed suplex hanging Asuka in the air. Asuka fired back with a string of kicks and then won with 2 straight kicks to the head. Decent match, but I like the Ember-Daria match a little better. A little slow, and the finish kind of came out of nowhere. Wasn't expecting her to win with the kicks. Maybe the Asuka lock or a running hip attack or something like that. And the main event was Andrade, Cien, Almas, and Bobby Roode against Kassius Ohno and Shinsuke Nakamura. What a main event. You have Bobby Roode, La Sombre, Chris Hero, and Nakamura all in the same ring. Great stuff. Ohno still looked a little bit out of shape. I know he's not as fit as he used to be, but and I'm not wanting to be in shape. I'm not like a fit person at all, but he definitely could afford to lose a couple more pounds. There was some stuff flabbing across as he was running. I was surprised Nakamura was there, considering his knee injury scare, but throughout the match, they kind of kept him out of the ring, keeping his work limited, so it made sense. He did test it early on with some knee strikes. The heels worked over Ohno for a long time. It makes sense, obviously. They don't want Nakamura in the ring. He did get the hot tag. He took out both opponents with some kicks. Roode pulled out a backstabber. Ohno took out Roode with an elbow to the back of the head, which led to the finish of Nakamura hitting the Kinshasa onto Andrade Cien Almas to get the win. Great main event. Very fun. There was some comedy stuff in the beginning of the match. Andrade did his hold between the ropes. The second time he did it, he received a big boot from Kassius Ohno. So, it was cool. Some cool moments. It was a nice story to get to the finish too, with the build up with the two babyfaces hitting their finisher. Overall, great show. Again, just about 3 hours, and they did run a house show on the same night in Florida, so the roster was pretty thin. It kind of took away from some of the matches, though. They kind of had to dig a little deeper to fill the card. We got no Roderick Strong, no Way Jose on this card, no Elias Sampson, thank God. So they kind of spread them out. But overall, I recommend going to the NXT house shows. The in-ring work is great. The crowd more livelier than I could imagine at a WWE house show. The only thing is some of the crowd just tried starting chants out of nothing, and it kind of takes away from the experience. And I think they could have just trimmed down some of the matches, maybe 2.5 hours instead of a little over 3 hours. But the pacing was nice with the card. They had some of the comedy stuff. They spread it out a little bit. Again, I recommend going to an NXT house show if possible. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in to episode 100. I'll be back next week, or later this week, with episode 101 covering the UK Championship match between Tyler Bate and Trent Seven. Follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports. Rate, review, comment, all that fun stuff on YouTube. Peace.